Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Kishore Kishori Ki Jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Marani Ki Jai, Gaunitai Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Good morning. We're reading from Canto 11, Chapter 2, and there's one text, text 34. So it is on the board. Yevai Bhagavata Prokta Upaya Hi Atma Labtaye Anja Pumsam Avidusam Vidhi Bhagavatan Hitan Yevai Bhagavata Prokta Upaya Hi Atma Labtaye Anja Pumsam Avidusam Vidhi Bhagavatan Hitan Yevai Bhagavata Prokta Upaya Hi Atma Labtaye Anja Pumsam Avidusham Vidhi Bhagavatan Hitan. Please chant. Yevai Bhagavata Prokta Upaya Hi Atma Labtaye Anja Pumsam Avidusham Vidhi Bhagavatan Hitan. Yevai Bhagavata Prokta Upaya Hi Atma Labtaye Anja Pumsam Avidusham Vidhi Bhagavatan Hitan. Yevai Bhagavata Prokta Upaya Hi Atma Labtaye Anja Pumsam Avidusham Vidhi Bhagavatan Hitan. Yevai Bhagavata Prokta Upaya Hi Atma Labtaye Anja Pumsam Avidusham Vidhi Bhagavatan Hitan. Yevai Bhagavata Prokta Upaya Hi Atma Labtaye Anja Pumsam Avidusham Vidhi Bhagavatan Hitan. Thank you very much. The word for word translation, and this is BBT translation and purport. Ye, which, vai, indeed, Bhagavata, by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prokta, spoken. Upaya, means. He, indeed. Atma Labdaye, for realizing the Supreme Soul. Anja, easily. Pumsam, by persons avidusham, less intelligent, vidhi, know, Bhagavatam, to be Bhagavata Dharma. He, certainly, tan, these. And the translation for text 34 is as follows. Even ignorant living entities can very easily come to know the Supreme Lord if they adopt these means prescribed by the Supreme Lord himself. The process recommended by the Lord is to be known as Bhagavad Dharma, or devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. There are many Vedic scriptures, such as Manu Samhita, that present standard injunctions for the peaceful management of human society. Such Vedic knowledge is based on the Varnashram system, which scientifically divides human society into 4 occupational divisions, as well as 4 spiritual divisions. According to Srila Sridhar Swami, however, knowledge that can bring one directly in contact with the Supreme Personality of Godhead is called Ati Rahasyam, or the most confidential knowledge. Ati Rahasyatvat Svamukhe Naiva Bhagavata Vidusam Api Pumsam Anja Sukhe Naivatma Labdaye. Bhagavad Dharma is so confidential that it is spoken by the Lord himself. The essence of Bhagavad Dharma is given in Bhagavad Gita, wherein Krishna personally instructs Arjuna. Yet, in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the Lord will give instructions to Uddhava that surpass even the teachings given to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita. As Srila Prabhupada has stated, undoubtedly Bhagavad Gita was spoken by the Lord on the battlefield of Kurukshetra just to encourage Arjuna to fight, and yet to complete the transcendental knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, the Lord instructed Uddhava. The Lord wanted Uddhava to fulfill his mission and disseminate knowledge which he had not spoken even in Bhagavad Gita. So that's from Bhagavatam 3.4.32 purport. Similarly, it is understood that the knowledge that will be presented here by the 9 Yogendras is not their personal concoction, but is authorized knowledge originally spoken by the Lord himself. According to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, the living entities in the course of their wanderings throughout the cycle of birth and death lose all trace of the personality of Godhead. But when they hear the eternally auspicious topics spoken by the Supreme Lord for their benefit and understand their eternal identities as spirit souls, the realized experience of being an eternal servant of Krishna becomes the basis of Bhagavad Dharma. In the soul's experience as a pure Vaishnava or servant of God, there's no consideration of being different from God or the same as God, nor is one interested in the kingdom of material sense gratification. The pure devotee simply perceives his particular devotional service to the Supreme Lord and sees himself as an individual part and parcel of the ultimate shelter. A pure devotee experiences that his very being is tied by ropes of loving devotion to the ultimate shelter, himself in one of his direct personal expansions. And in such a perfect state of consciousness, the devotee can perceive the all-pervading variegated forms of the absolute truth. Om Jnana-Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shita Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Shah Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganragatam Vitam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitam Shah. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagat Pate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radha Vrindavaneshwari Vrishavanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubheva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnebhyo namo namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimad Ramapada Swami iti namine. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami iti namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Hucharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pashitya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I'll just read the translation of text 34 once again to refresh. Even ignorant living entities can very easily come to know the Supreme Lord if they adopt these means prescribed by the Supreme Lord himself. The process recommended by the Lord is to be known as Bhagavad Dharma, or devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. King Nimi had addressed the 9 Yogendras in a conversation that is stated by Narada Muni in his speaking to Vasudev. So there's 2 simultaneous conversations going on. Narada Muni speaking to Vasudev, and he's referencing and relating this conversation between King Nimi and the 9 Yogendras. And the relevance of the particular conversation that's been highlighted is that this conversation between King Nimi and the 9 Yogendras explains the devotional service of the Lord. And this was in an earlier text, text 21, where mention was made of that. So of the 9 Yogendras, it is Kavi who speaks this particular verse. So it is Kavi's statement to King Nimi that we're hearing today. So of course, just as a refresher, the other 8 Yogendras, Kavi being the 9th one, or the first one that's speaking in this particular circumstance, there's Havir, Antariksha, Prabuddha, Pipalayana, Avirhotra, Drumila, Kamsas, and Karabhajana. And all of them are sons of Lord Rishabdev, who actually is the plenary portion of Vasudev. So it's quite interesting, this connection. So this conversation takes place in the presence of priests and members of the sacrificial assembly. So the characteristics, and this is Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, so-called looking at Kavi's statement, this first of the 9 Yogendras that's speaking to King Nimi in this conversation that's been spoken about by Narada Muni. So particularly the characteristics of Bhagavad Dharma are described. And that means the religious principles, one's eternal natural occupation of devotional service to the Lord, Bhagavan. So Bhagavan means he who possesses all opulences, the Supreme Lord, who's the reservoir of all beauty, strength, fame, wealth, knowledge, and renunciation. So this Bhagavad Dharma, it receives emphasis from the Supreme Lord himself. So this is how Lord Krishna speaks about this Bhagavad Dharma, and this is coming from Bhagavad Gita 18:55, where he says, so these are the words of Lord Krishna, "One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service, And when one is in full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. So Lord Krishna identifies the quality that is peculiar to devotional service. And that quality is being able to understand him, Lord Krishna, as he is. So that's the extraordinary quality of devotional service. It's going to permit that understanding of Lord Krishna himself. So, because Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is drawing attention to this fact that the particular characteristics of Bhagavad Dharma are being highlighted, we're going to be exploring that. So devotional service, or Bhagavad Dharma, has as its identifying characteristic the trait that one can understand to what extent Lord Krishna exists. Because generally this is something, it was mentioned in the BBT purport, that through going through one's various lifetime, one loses all trace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and a connection with him. So the particular distinguishing trait of devotional service is that one can understand to what extent Lord Krishna exists, with his Swarup, his qualities, and his powers. So, of course, it's very extensive, the existence of Lord Krishna. So there's a lot of ground to cover through devotional service. So the further characteristic of devotional service is that having realized Lord Krishna in terms of his form, his qualities, his powers, as he is in truth, a person joins him because of having that realization. So it means you become connected to Lord Krishna, you join him. As you gradually come to realize his form, his powers, his qualities, and who he is in truth. It's like when you actually come to be introduced to a person that you're not familiar with, over time you come to understand something of their qualities, you come to understand something of their characteristics, you come to understand something of the area that they manage in their lives, etc. So it's similar. So in the case of that, making that connection and coming to that understanding and realization of the extent of Lord Krishna's existence, meaning all his qualities, all his powers, there's that joining with him. That's how it's called. And this is explained by Srila Baladev Vijayabhusan. And this particular point, that you're actually joining with Lord Krishna. And that verse, I'm just going to read the Sanskrit because I'm referencing that a lot for these particular characteristics of devotional service, that it's, one comes to understand the extent of Lord Krishna's existence, and also one is able to understand who he is in truth. So this is that particular verse. I'll read the Sanskrit. Bhakti mam abhijanati yavan yachasmi tatvata tato mam tatvato gnatva vishate tad anamtaram. So returning to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he states that the reason the Lord himself speaks is that bhakti is most secret. So this very statement that we've just heard, where Krishna is talking about Bhagavad Dharma, I'm going to read it again. One can understand me as I am, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me, by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. So the reason Lord Krishna himself speaks is because bhakti is so secret, such a big secret. And this may be contrasted, because it was mentioned too in the purport, the BBT purport, that this is very different to when Krishna speaks about Varnashram, for instance. Because there, the focus is just on how society appears and the divisions in the society. So he's not talking about himself, he's not talking about any connection with himself. And so we can look at how Varnashram is spoken about. There are 4 divisions of society: the Brahmanas, due to their being situated in the mode of goodness, are the intelligent class of men. The administrative class of men, the Kshatriyas, who are situated in the mode of passion, are next, followed by the mercantile men, the Vaishyas, who are situated in the mixed mode of passion and ignorance, and finally the Sudras, or the laborer class of men, who are situated in the mode of nature of ignorance. So Lord Krishna speaks of this division of society and the tendency of men towards work being determined by the particular nature that they inherently have or that they've acquired. So Lord Krishna speaks in this way. So here's him speaking about Varnashram Dharma, because we're contrasting it with how he speaks about Bhagavad Dharma. Here's how he speaks about Varnashram. According to the 3 modes of material nature and the work associated with them, the 4 divisions of human society are created by me. And although I'm the creator of this system, you should know that I'm yet, and my computer changed something. I'm yet something being unchangeable. Sorry, I don't know what word was there. So that's from Bhagavad Gita 4:13. Chaturvarnyam maya shrishtam gunakarma vibhagasa tasya kartaram apimam vidhi akartaram avyayam. So you can see the contrast there of Lord Krishna speaking about Bhagavad Dharma is very much connected to himself, where he's actually saying, one can understand me as I am, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. So that's the Bhagavad Dharma. And then when he speaks about Varnashram, it's quite different. According to the 3 modes of material nature and the work associated with them, there are 4 divisions of human society. They're created by me. So very different kind of emphasis between Bhagavad Dharma and Varnashram Dharma, you could say. The dharmic aspect is just seeing that there's a connection with Lord Krishna, because he's saying, created by me. So the contrasting point with devotional service in the speaking of Varnashram is that the Brahmana has limited knowledge, whereas the devotional service aspect allows one to transcend limited knowledge of the Brahmana and reach knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it's going beyond just the basic breakdown of Varnashram system and the highest echelon in the Varnashram system, the Brahmana having intelligence. Just coming to devotional service overrides the intelligence of the Brahmana because of the fact that it's actually reaching that kind of knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, being able to understand who that Supreme Personality of Godhead is and all his powers and qualities. So this knowledge, Srila Prabhupada explains, includes knowledge of all the expansions of Krishna, such as Rama, Nrsimha, Varaha, etc. So that's all part of what one comes to understand through Bhagavad Dharma or devotional service to the Supreme Lord. And Lord Krishna does indeed speak of bhakti because it is a secret. And he calls it the most secret of all secrets. So it's not immediately visible. Just like Varnashram, you can understand externally just by observation. But devotional service is actually a secret. It's not visible. It's not so easily comprehensible. And Krishna explains it this way. This knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting, and it is joyfully performed. I mean, what an incredible, you could say, definition of this devotional service and the knowledge that it brings, which is that knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he's calling that knowledge the greatest secret that there is. And he's calling it the purest knowledge. And the reason it's so pure and so great is that it gives that direct perception of oneself by realization because of one's connection with the Supreme Lord. So it's called the perfection of religion. And on top of it, why it's so extraordinary is that it's everlasting. Any realization that comes, having attained some knowledge of the Supreme Lord, is everlasting, it's eternally existent. So, and that's all from Bhagavad Gita 9.2, where Krishna gives that definition, basically, of this great secret, this Bhagavad Dharma. So bhakti, or devotional service, is characterized as being the king of secret matters. Those are the words that are used by Srila Baladev Vijayabhusan, king of secret matters. Secrets are always something that can't be kept secret. It appears something is, one understands there's a secret about something, but it's understood by everybody that soon it's going to be exposed. So devotional service, if one analyzes it, is such that Lord Krishna calls this knowledge pure. So generally secrets may or may not be good. But in the case of this particular secret of devotional service and the knowledge, that secret being knowledge of the Supreme Lord, it's actually extremely pure, which is another characteristic of bhakti. It's very pure. It's not tainted in any kind of way. It's specific, very specific and focused, and because it's in connection with the Supreme Pure, it's pure knowledge. So the reason there's this further analysis where Krishna calls this knowledge pure. The reason he does this is to explain that the knowledge destroys all sins. That's part of what the extraordinary part of this secret is. It's so subtle. There's a destruction of sins. And Srila Baladev, he puts it this way. The subtle body falls into the category of sins. So the subtle body is considered one's mind, one's intelligence, and one's ego, the way one thinks of oneself. It actually, the whole package falls into the category of sin. And the whole package gets destroyed through bhakti. And this is so because karmas are stored in the subtle body. So all the impressions of previous lifetimes, the conceptions one has of oneself from previous lifetimes, is actually present in the subtle body. So it's considered to be stored in the subtle body. So what is actually being done by getting knowledge of Lord Krishna, the stored karmas are getting wiped out. So with the disappearance of the karmas, the subtle body as well as the gross body will eventually disappear. And so one attains liberation because one's in one's pure spiritual form. So there's a comparison that's made regarding this destruction of sin. And this is the comparison that's made. It comes from Srila Baladev Vijayabhusan. He says The sins are destroyed just like leaves that are pierced 100 times. So as you might have a needle, there's a pile of leaves, and you put a needle, it goes through one leaf at a time, going through all the leaves in that pile of leaves. So bhakti will destroy karma one at a time. That's the comparison that's made of how the subtle body, which is storing all these karmas, are actually getting wiped out. They're actually getting pierced and destroyed. I was thinking about this comparison, the simile that's been made by Srila Baladev Vijayabhusan. And how I was understanding it is that it's like a subtle layering. So there's stored karma, and there'll be one layer of it, and below that is another layer of the same thing, and another layer, and another layer, and another layer. It gets more and more and more subtle. So the Padma Purana defines the types of sin that are getting destroyed. So this is how the Padma Purana puts it. Sins in the form of aparabdha, Kuta, Bija, and Parabdha are gradually destroyed for the person engaged in bhakti to Vishnu. That's a statement in the Padma Purana. So it means that the sins, they may already be manifest. Something of that karma may already be manifest. Some of it may just be in a seed form. It's like not yet developed. Some of it may be partially manifest, etc. So all of it is gradually getting destroyed. So further characteristics of devotional service are that it has the subject of, it has the object being the understanding or directly perceiving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Vedanta Sutra 3.2.26, which is quoted by Srila Baladev Vijayabhusan, puts it this way. Is Lord Krishna speaking. I, the Supreme Lord, the object of understanding, make my appearance in direct perception arising from methods such as hearing. So here's how it is that an understanding of the Supreme Lord is happening. He's telling us, he as the object of understanding, he appears being able to be, that one can directly perceive him using particularly the method of hearing. So that's Krishna's statement, and this is coming from Vedanta Sutra. So the Lord is revealed through constant repetition of devotional actions. So we repetitively hear. So we repetitively come in the mornings to hear Bhagavatam class, or we repetitively hear a recording of a Bhagavatam class. So this is a repetition of a devotional action that one is lending one's ear to the subject matter of regarding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that is what's allowing him to be able, for one to be able to directly perceive him. That's how he's appearing through one's hearing. So one can know that this method allows one to quickly attain benefit. And this is the benefit of Bhagavad Dharma. This method is equally applicable to ignorant persons, and that's what was brought up by Kavi in speaking to King Nimi. He said even ignorant persons can benefit. And indeed, the same benefit is there for an extremely ignorant person. So pure bhakti to the Lord, beginning with the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, is the real Dharma, the Bhagavad Dharma. And he's the supreme object for humans in this world. Like generally, the way the subtle body works, there's always a focus the mind gets on some object, like something one wants to acquire, or something that is holding one's attention and is giving some sort of happiness. But actually, the supreme object that can be there moving into the subtle body is the Supreme Lord. He's the supreme object for humans in this world. And this is how it's put. It's from Srimad Bhagavatam 6.3.27. Devotional service, beginning with the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, is the ultimate religious principle for the living entity in human society. So such a religious principle is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. And this is one of the terms that's used, that it's Dharma Prajita Kaitava Tra. There's no cheating religious principle in the Bhagavatam. And further, everything in the Bhagavatam is connected with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So hence the hearing, using that method, is what's allowing for that direct perception, because the Bhagavatam is connected with the Supreme Lord. And the third principle in the Bhagavatam is that the supreme religion teaches persons to love the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who's beyond the reach of experimental knowledge. So generally, if you want to find out if something exists, like I remember doing physics in my first year at university, and there were innumerable experiments. We had to go to the lab quite regularly to run experiment X, Y, Z to determine that something existed, so you could tangibly understand that's whatever, if you combine this results. So that kind of experimental process or method is not the means to reach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or never mind coming to love him. Rather, it's this principle of connecting with the Bhagavatam or connecting with Bhagavad Gita, because that's the means, the method by which one can have that direct perception of the Supreme Lord. So after chanting the holy name of the Lord, and one could say dancing in ecstasy, one gradually sees the Lord's form, his pastimes and transcendental quality. So his becoming directly perceptible means that this is how you're coming to understand the extent of his existence. You come to understand, the form is like this, his pastimes are like this, one has all the details, and one comes to understand something of his transcendental qualities. So in this way, one fully understands the situation of the Lord. So thus it is that Lord Krishna says, attaining me, those noble-minded souls do not again take material birth, which is filled with suffering and is temporary. They attain me, the highest goal. That's how Lord Krishna puts it. That's what actually happens. So it requires a certain noble-mindedness to embark on this kind of process, take to this method of hearing to allow for this direct perception of the Lord. But just like those leaves with the needle going through it and the subtle body being destroyed, it actually means that there isn't going to be another material birth which is filled with suffering and is temporary. And anybody who's been a little bit thoughtful can understand that actually being in the human body in this material world is so much suffering from all sides. Other people causing one great mental suffering, the particular body one has at certain times because one's stored karma is being carried out mentally. It then also produces some sort of gross reaction in the body. So then there's disease and suffering that happens in the body. And also the fact that one can't hold on to anything for too long. Everything is so temporary. So it's certainly a material birth filled with suffering. So this connection, through devotional service of being able to comprehend the Supreme Lord and actually start to destroy that karma, is such, what would one say, a noble move one can start making. So the point is one doesn't take birth again. And the reason this is so is because one has found refuge in the Supreme Lord. There's refuge in, so one may be in this body with all the stored karma, but there's a refuge because one is hearing of the Supreme Lord, because one is beginning to directly perceive his form, his qualities, his pastimes through the hearing. One has found a refuge. And the term that's used is most excellent refuge. So the persons who attain the Lord are qualified. Means that they're noble-minded and they're generous. Because one has to be generous to attain the Lord. It means that one isn't so caught up in oneself and one's selfish desires that are dictated by whatever karma is present in the subtle mind, but rather one is thinking more broadly, more expansively. So although one's focus is exclusively on Lord Krishna, there's very expansive thinking. One's thinking more of the welfare of others, and understanding that it's not this small little karmic dictated reality that is all that there is. So one concentrates only on Lord Krishna, and that only on Lord Krishna is, however, on somebody who's the ocean of knowledge, the ocean of happiness or bliss. So actually, by taking to this Bhagavatam, focusing on Lord Krishna alone, this becomes a life-sustaining medicine. That's actually what is the panacea, you could say, for all the suffering. So going back to Kavi's statement to Lord Nimi as spoken by Narada Muni to Vasudev, even ignorant persons can have this great boon that they receive this life-sustaining medicine if they utilize the particular method of serving in a mood of devotion the Supreme Lord, shifting their whole focus. So those are some thoughts on the verse today. If there's some further question, understanding, something that one wishes to share, please proceed so that we can expand the discussion.
I was just thinking on this statement of Krishna as the greatest of all secret, how confidential, how secret is devotional service, Bhagavad Dharma. But as you mentioned, is a known, is revealed. It's revealed in the Bhagavad Gita, it's revealed throughout the Bhagavatam, it's revealed in the different Vedic texts, not necessarily in combination with many, many, many things, but it's revealed. And I was thinking of this phenomena that is just part of conditional life, that certain things, although it's right in front of you, it doesn't register. So, if one can think of Vedantists, of transcendentalists who are dedicated to go through the Vedas and study the Vedas and analyze it like that, when they come across with this type of statements in which declares the superiority, the king of all knowledge, Raja Vidya, how you process, actually, the phenomena, it doesn't process. You read it, but it doesn't it doesn't fully enter your or affect your conceptions and your understandings. And it's quite something, that phenomena. And, that's on the levels of transcendental, trying to pursue transcendental knowledge. But also you can see it, the same principle applies in all types of conditional endeavors, in the materialistic life. There's certain thing that doesn't allow us to see what is in front of us. It doesn't register. So it's quite something to just think of that type of phenomena, and is quite, in one sense, concerning, because it's just part of material life, that I have certain blocks, certain lenses that allow to see certain things and doesn't allow to see certain things. I'm thinking also of Dhruta Prabhu and Sadaputta Prabhu's book, Forbidden Knowledge, that the things, all the discoveries that doesn't go with your conceptions doesn't register. So it gets storage in a hidden place. So it becomes, a secret, a hidden secret, So I was just reflecting on, your very nice class presentation on this thing of not able to register and see things that are right in front of you and that comes to you like that.
Well, thank you very much for highlighting that particular point that Lord Krishna was making of that it's a secret, but again, it's present, visible, so to speak, in the Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, that one can get some realization of the self as a spirit soul. And your example is very interesting, the Forbidden Archaeology book. The particular finds of primitive man, so the finds were such that a theory was developed that there was evolution of man. So in Central Africa, Australopithecus was found, so a very primitive man, very short, 4 feet or something. And then the theory that there's the other finds that were found, a picture was built up that suited that concept. So whatever was found, then some theories were developed of how man moved from this area to that area, and there was gradual evolution to eventually coming to the point of farming and as opposed to being a hunter-gatherer. So, and the interesting thing is that is raised, the point that was raised in Forbidden Archaeology is that modern man, as he exists in the present time, was present there alongside that Australopithecus find 2.5 million years ago, and even they trace, I forget how many millions of years before that, modern man as he is was also found. So, but that is not attended to. So that point you're making, it needed to fit into the theory that had already been developed, the hypothesis that was there. And so any evidence that was coming that fitted the theory was taken, but that didn't fit the theory was indeed ignored. The presence of modern anatomy, even at the time of extremely primitive man, supposedly. So yes, that particular phenomenon of not being able to perceive has a lot to do with making a voluntary choice on the part of each person to what one wants to hear or understand. So the I guess the knowledge that's coming through disciplic succession is realized knowledge. So therefore, if one chooses to hear from realized sources, then naturally that knowledge is going to be impacting one's consciousness very much, because it's realized knowledge is coming from a deep understanding. So, but the necessity is on the part of the person to choose, to make that choice to hear knowledge from that source. So I guess you're referencing persons who may look at philosophy and be thinking of transcendence, may not be making that choice. The choice may be just preferring to stay within the confines of intellect, as opposed to transcendently realized sources. So yes, it's a personal choice, because the choice going in the direction of receiving transcendently realized knowledge means that one then gets entrance, because Krishna is directly appearing, directly allowing himself to be perceived. So it's a choice on both sides. Yeah. So if there isn't anything else, thank you so very much for your very kind attention. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.